The Week That Perished, published on Taki's magazine, March 30th, 2015. The week's most peerless, fearless, and cheerless headlines. Spring Break 2015, Mass Shooting at Florida House Party. The normally placid Gulf Coast town of Panama City Beach, Florida, was rocked by gunfire early Saturday morning during a house party in celebration of spring break. 7 partygoers were shot and wounded, 3 of them critically. According to Bay County Sheriff Frank McKeithen, "This is what we've been trying to warn people about. It's been a rough time, and there are 2 completely different elements of spring break. There are the college kids who are here for their spring break, and there is the group of people drawn here because of them. We have a vague idea of what the sheriff means by, quote, different elements, unquote. And frankly, we resent what he appears to be insinuating." Anyway, 22-year-old Alabama resident David Jamichael Daniels was arrested and charged with 7 counts of attempted murder in relation to the shooting. The first names of his 7 victims: Kiaria, Anisia, Devonta, Jacole, Kelly, Tykeria, and Henton. Sodomite Suppression Act proposed in California. A Southern California lawyer named Matthew McLaughlin has filed the legal papers and paid the $200 fee to propose a ballot initiative he calls the Sodomite Suppression Act. The bill condemns sodomy as the abominable crime against nature known as buggery, which constitutes a monstrous evil, and needs to be righteously quashed, with bullets if necessary. The people of California wisely command, in the fear of God, that any person who willingly touches another person of the same gender, for purposes of sexual gratification, be put to death by bullets to the head or by any other convenient method. Well, okay. If you're looking to suppress a sodomite, that's one way to do it. The sodomites are naturally outraged, with a pair of buggery-friendly bloggers calling McLaughlin loathsome and devoid of basic human decency. They characterized the ballot proposal as evil speech that has no redeeming value and is drenched in immorality. In short, they used terminology nearly as morally hysterical as McLaughlin's. But, unlike McLaughlin, we're almost certain they're serious. California teacher: "I just don't like the black kids." Joe DeFlippio, the vice principal of Fresno, California's Scandinavian Middle School, was put on paid administrative leave a couple weeks ago after a brief video was posted to YouTube that shows him telling a black student, "I just don't like the black kids." Of course, this led to a Mao-Mowing the flag catchers style uproar, in which emotionally inflamed students and parents gathered outside the school to chant quaint sayings, such as "Black Power" and "I love black people." A young man named Jarius Lamar said the scandal caused his mother to lose trust in the school. But last Wednesday, and this is surprising, a letter in support of DeFlippio, signed by more than 30 local educators, was delivered to a Fresno school board meeting. They argue that DeFlippio is a good egg and appear to feel that he was set up by pranksters. After several reviews of the video, we have determined that DeFlippio was merely joking around with a black kid, one whom he knew was filming him, by stating that he doesn't like black kids. His main sin is having a sense of humor in a world that declares some topics are never funny, thereby making them a million times funnier. That sweater is so gay. Ottawa-based homosexual Jeremy Dias, who helms something he calls the Canadian Centre for Gender and Sexual Diversity, unveiled a gay sweater at Toronto Fashion Week. Diaz says he hopes the sweater, which was designed by 2 females who meticulously wove it, quote, "from the hair of more than 100 LGBT individuals," end quote, will somehow raise awareness and cause people to stop using the phrase "that's so gay," even though they mean no harm, because it's hurtful and harmful and really will lead to violence and murder against gay people. Of course it doesn't make any sense. Still, it manages to be gayer than a milk jug filled to the brim with Elton John's sperm. Fruit fight. Elton John versus Dolce & Gabbana. Speaking of the world's oldest rotting fruit, Sir Elton John recently clashed with Italian designers Domenico Dolce and Stefano Gabbana, who are by leaps and bounds the favorite expensive handbag makers for homosexuals the world over, regarding comments the latter had made about traditional marriage and surrogate babies. Domenico Dolce had recently made the following statements in a magazine interview. "The only real family is the traditional one. You are born to a mother and father, at least that is how it should be. I call the children of chemistry synthetic children." Elton John, who owns 2 synthetic children, flipped one of his many wigs and posted this on Instagram. "How dare you refer to my beautiful children as synthetic? I shall never wear Dolce & Gabbana ever again. Hashtag boycott Dolce & Gabbana." Responding to the call for a boycott, Stefano Gabbana called Sir Elton fascist, ignorant, unenlightened, and unwilling to tolerate any views that differ from his own. Then, after sufficiently venting their gay spleens, the trio of mincing fruit bars allegedly kissed and made up. Sir Elton was even spotted toting a D&G handbag in public again. His synthetic children were unavailable for comment. Safe spaces without white people. Essayists and activists who routinely launch verbal hammer kicks to the collective white male scrotum have become so commonplace as to almost escape notice, but that, dearest of readers, is why we're here, to notice. An essay in the Huffington Post argued that it does not constitute racial segregation to demand that non-white students should be granted ethnic safe spaces without white people, wherein they can huddle together and commiserate about all the oppression that privileged whites are constantly doling out to them. It argues that a group calling themselves the Racialized Students Collective was morally justified in excluding 2 white students from one of their meetings. The Guardian published a piece called "Philosophy Has to Be About More Than White Men," linking predominantly white Western civilization to the systemic killing of female philosophers, massacres of some of our earliest thinkers, such as the Aztec, and the destruction of ancient African cities that illuminate the thinking of old civilizations. Most sensational of all was an article that appeared in England's Independent for less than 24 hours before it was scrubbed. The article, credited to Anonymous, was called "White Men Should Never Hold Elected Positions in British Universities Again." We here at Taki News Desk were luckily able to download the article's text before the Independent removed it. Some highlights. Our universities and student unions are too similar to our government. They are too stunted by white men. Being a student union president should no longer be a place for privileged white boys to swing their dicks around before graduating into a world that is in no way affected by what they claim to fight for. White men have had the last several millennia in charge, and it's been a shit show from start to finish. A new generation of powerful women and minority ethnic people is ready to lead and change. It is time for you to bow down. No, it's time for you and everyone like you to shut up. You jokers are really pushing it these days. Palestinian TV blames Jews for causing fish to fight. Israel National News has revealed that in February, a Muslim preacher on a Palestinian Authority TV program made the following statements. Humanity will never live in comfort as long as the Jews are causing devastating corruption throughout the land. Humanity will never live in peace or fortune or tranquility as long as they are corrupting the land. An old man told me, if a fish in the sea fights with another fish, I am sure the Jews are behind it. At press time, the Fighting Fish were unavailable for comment. An Anti-Defamation League report from last year allegedly claims that Palestinians harbor the most anti-Semitic attitudes in the world. One can't imagine why.